morning, everyone. Welcome to American Scouser's morning coffee or tea with American Scouser. It's Wednesday, it's hump day. So I have the world's greatest dad thing going. That's what I do on Wednesdays here at American Scouser. Is TGIFF, and John is with us. John, what's happening, man?
I'm good. Yeah, like you said, hump day. Just want to get through this day. Honestly, a lot of work and stuff, but yeah, just just water for me today.
If it's water, why is it in a mug? That's kind of like blasphemy there. What are you
Oh
doing?
yeah, cause my whole setup here is in my gaming station, so I bring in a tumbler. So
We
so
have
yeah,
another gamer in the house. Okay.
yeah. So
Are
when you
you a
mentioned
FIFA gamer as well?
sorry.
Are you a FIFA gamer, or what kind of gaming are we talking here?
I was about to say it. You said that you planned on doing some FIFA content, and I would be all over that.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Because a lot of people say FIFA around here and then they don't want to play me. They run away. So I don't know. We'll just bring you on. Okay. So a lot to get to. Kazi might be joining us, might not be joining us, might be awake, might not be. Maybe he saw the price we signed McAllister for.
Right.
He just started drinking and just passed out. So, that's very possible. So let's start with that. That's the big news, obviously, of the morning over here. Actually, I woke up to this message from Alan over here first thing in the morning. I didn't even look at anything else. I'm just looking at the direct messages. And I got this actually from Alan and from like two different people too on like Instagram and stuff too. But so this is coming from Fabrizio, so we take it as law at this point, I guess. But Sinai is for 35 million. And the
35
Reds have
million.
now triggered the clause to sign a midfielder after medical test complete with Brighton's permission. Documents are being signed. Here we go, confirmed. So here we go. He had the here we go already. So this is here we go confirmed. I did not realize there was like steps to this here we go thing with
Right.
them. I thought it was a one-step operation, but I guess not. So where are we at this thing? Mr. says, I remember why York sounded familiar. York Schmatke is just German for Michael Edwards. So is this ridiculous price? I mean, it does sound way too good to be true, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And if we manage to get it, then bravo. It's such a brilliant start to our transfer window, as I keep saying. Uh, Again, I kind of keep rubbing my eyes. You know what? I just I just woke up almost an hour ago, and I still keep rubbing my eyes. 35 million, really, for a player who's World Cup proven, who's Premier League proven, probably the most important thing, and who's definitely going to give us a breath of fresh air in our midfield. It's something that we desperately needed. So again, if it's 35 million, then absolutely
Yeah,
take
I
it.
mean, that's just like it sounds unreal. Alan is with us. Good morning, Alan. I think it's just one of those deals where I can remember like when we were talking about this, but it felt like, for if he's coming for 35, it almost takes the pressure away from him in a way
Yes.
that Nunez had
Hmm.
in terms of like coming with a high price tag. And I think it takes the pressure a little bit of us too. So, if McAllister ends up for one more reason or another, like Fabinho's form improves, whatever happens, and McAllister becomes your fourth guy, it's not as you're like, hey, this is your quality fourth midfielder ended up being real top quality. And I think like what you said there is, especially with the Premier League parts, is very important. The fact
Hmm.
that he's a proven, we're not like, oh, let's see what happens. And we're going to talk about the two French dudes hanging out later on. And it's kind of like sounds like it's one of those deals where this is a guarantee. Whereas I feel like regardless of how well we know the player, even if you're watching League One all the time, which I don't know why, but you might be, or you're watching the Bundesliga or something like that, you always worry about, is it going to translate into the Premier League? Um,
Hmm.
and we don't have that concern with him. And I think that's like the biggest thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. Um, we've had a lot of players come in the past. Like, I don't know why the first name that came up for me was Alberto Aquilani. It's like a blast from the past. We were absolutely desperate for that guy to replace Xabi Alonso, and he was quite decent in this area and in the Italian league. But yeah, I feel like it would have been absolutely ideal at the time for someone for us to have gotten someone that was Premier League proven to replace Shabby, and kind of dovetailing off of that, getting someone Premier League proven to bolster a position that we desperately need refreshment towards is really ideal. Like I keep saying, it's a great start. It's a great start. Hopefully we kick on from here, the transfer market.
Yeah, this is a good point, though. Alan says we should hire the Scott Brighton users, and because I mean, yeah, they're going to go now get. So we got to go after the guys they're going to get now to replace these guys, so that we don't come back and even pay 35 for them. They're probably going to get them for like 10, 15 and stuff like that. But let's bring this guy on, Mister. I am never on time. I can't get up. But yet another. What is the excuse for today? Shoot.
No, to be fair, I've moved house. But this is just
that was last Wednesday. That was Friday's excuse. You don't have anything fresh for today?
This is just a 2-year-old child. That's all I've got for you. 2-year-old kid.
Yeah, Tim was saying, Kazi, that you were celebrating the 35 million fee.
I can't believe it.
Yeah.
Do we have like? I think we got like naked pictures at the Derby or something, and then we're gonna post online and go, give him for 35 million. I'm gonna ruin your life. I mean. Just very in compromised positions. I don't know how. Why? I mean, the rumor is because we're not in the Champions League, and he had a buyout clause for non-Champions League clubs.
Why would they put that clause?
It's really weird. Yeah.
I don't know.
Like I understand that's the clause. I think we were talking with Mateusz on Monday, and we said 39. I want to say Kelly actually threw out the 35, so he must have some insider knowledge. If I remember right, he said he heard 35 or something. We're like, oh, it keeps going down, and. Why would they even have that? Like, why would he want that? Like, why would the agent be like, hey, let's put, or unless he knew something like this was going to happen, but it doesn't help the agent either because the fee is down.
The only thing I can think of is that the top four, let's just say it's United, City, Liverpool, and Arsenal. You can always get a move to Chelsea, Spurs, and that kind of thing, and you can still get to that next level club. Yeah. Maybe that's what his thinking is long term. Or it was. It's a genius move, by the way. Absolute genius move by the agent. I always say with the Haaland move, when Haaland was the £65 million buyout clause for Dortmund, it's just a genius move by the agent. Look at that, and then you look at the Bellingham situation now and what he's going through, kind of thing of, But I can't believe it.
Mateusz was right. The agent is his dad, and they wanted to control where they were going. Is my best guess. I know we've been playing this "if you were the dad off" thing over the last few weeks on the morning show, and so. That is a good move, I guess, for them because they didn't get locked in. And, I guess he didn't get, I don't want to say like stuck at Brighton or something like that because Brighton set the fee up so high. Maybe they figured, hey, there's 6-7 teams we can go to. That's a step up. Yeah. And even if, that eliminates 4 of them, there's still going to be 2-3 in the market that can come and get you and take you to the next level, like you were saying.
He also signed this new contract in October, I think. I think it was October he signed the contract, which is before the World Cup.
Yeah.
So they've done the contract and went, well, if you can go and have a great World Cup, Liverpool are struggling, Chelsea are struggling, Chelsea are throwing money at everyone. And it could have been like, it's a genius move. It's a really genius move. And it might have priced out the other Champions League clubs. If the buyout clause is 70 million for Champions League clubs, it could have priced those guys out. So, again, it's superb. It's a great start to the summer for Liverpool. Fantastic start for that money as well.
It is because I think it just opens up the door for a lot of like other possibilities now because you do not lock up. Okay, so let me guys ask you this because I think I read this too that the Bellingham thing is official now. Is that accurate? Yes, no.
I got a notification from the Athletic this morning saying that I think he did sign with Real Madrid. 100 million is.
Okay, so let me ask you that then, John. 100 for Bellingham, 35 for McAllister. Which one is the better deal?
It's tough to say because, say Bellingham is. I feel like he's becoming that once in a generation kind of player. Like I dare say Stevie quality. That you can't just put a price on him. There might come a point where I feel like 100 million is gonna be an absolute bargain for him. And Real. They can splash that kind of money, no sweat, to be fair. So if he doesn't work out, they have the kind of players. Kroos and Modric are still pretty world class. So if Bellingham doesn't work out, they're still there. So for them, for us rather, it's a big amount of money. But for Real, I think it's a pretty low risk signing. I dare say like the 35 million that we paid for McAllister is around the 100 million is equivalent to the 100 million that Real paid for Bellingham in terms of risk. It's in terms of the
Oh,
equivalent.
I see what you're saying. I see what you're, like like 35 to us is 100 to them in terms of
right. In terms of their
I got
spending power, in terms of like how much pressure there is for the signing to sort of like kick on. And yeah, that is
That's
definitely
fair.
what.
How about you, Kazi? Because I know when the Bellingham news came out that we were pulling out, you pulled out, you opened up the drawer, pulled out all the FSG out flags, started waving them around as always. So, like, are you still waving those? Did you fold them back for the time being, or where are we at with those?
Well, listen, the jury's out in it still for this summer. Listen, it's a wonderful start by Liverpool. The thing that the Jude, I think it's. I always keep going back to it. I think Liverpool could pay the money for Jude Bellingham, but I think it's the money up front issue. Where Real Madrid can give you 100 million up front. Right. Yeah. Liverpool cannot give you 100 million up front. We pay off our transfers over 4 or 5 years. And the one thing I'd say about, and Alan's right, we probably are paying like 6-7 million up front and paying it over 4 or 5 years. The one thing I'd say with Bellingham, which might have put Liverpool more of a cold feet, isn't he having knee surgery this summer? I think that is... I'm sure he's having surgery.
I think so. That was a rumor that came out, but like I don't know if it came out so that our position looked better on it or what. But it was like he had to go through an operation, and it's the kind of operation that you do not come back from 100%. Blah blah blah, kind of a thing. I don't know how much truth that is to that.
So I understand that argument, and I get that as well for the knee surgery argument of Liverpool. You want your players in and ready to go. The jury's out on McAllister. Listen, Bellingham's right now. Bellingham's a level above McAllister. But in 18 months, we just don't know.
35 for McAllister, 100 for a Bellingham, if you had the option right now. See, I think, this answer I'm sure would be very different 2 years ago, right? Because at that time, when we were talking about Bellingham, everything was clicking. It looked like we had everything. This is going to be icing on the cake. 100 million, we're going to get the best, young English player for the midfield, blah, blah, blah. I think this season, it showed that we had more than that to fill. We had multiple positions to fill. So spending 100 on one guy was going to put that at risk, especially if you have to pay upfront and stuff like that. So I think the answer would be different then, because I would assume at that time you'd be like Bellingham, no question. I wouldn't even probably ask the question because it'd be a no-brainer. But how about now, like the 35 for McAllister versus 100 for Bellingham?
I think the McAllister looks better right now. But what I would say is though, if you're offering me Kone, Thuram, and McAllister for 100 million, or Bellingham for 100 million, then it's the first option. So because the summer hasn't finished yet, do you know what I mean? We just haven't finished up yet. But if Liverpool go and sign Kone and Thuram, McAllister for the same money you're going to sign Bellingham for, let's get it right. We were all thinking around 50 million quid for McAllister or more, and now it's come out at 35. You're like, hang on a second, Liverpool have done a master stroke again, really, in terms of that deal. So. Let's see what happens. Right now, McAllister looks like the better deal. But if Liverpool only end up with McAllister, then we're all going to be sitting there going, well, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think, but it opens the door, I think, for a lot of other stuff now because you only spent I mean, I know we're at an age we're saying only 35, but at this day and age, normally, if you look at the profile of the player, you would guess 60, 70. Like a World Cup winner, proven midfielder in Premier League, you would guess that price. So 35 seems obnoxious.
Well, I look at it this way. Like James Maddison's probably going to go for 60, 70 million. I'd have McAllister for 35.
Well, he has the English thing going. So that's automatic 10, 20,
Yeah, of course. But he got picked for the World Cup squad and didn't play a minute. So it's not like he's starting for this team either. So I would have McAllister 35 over a Maddison at 70.
So you brought out these guys. This tweet, like this thing was out like literally everywhere. John sent it to me. It was like the ultimate clickbait that was going around everywhere. So John is sending me clickbait now, by the way. So I mean, you can only assume when you see something like that, John, that they were like, hey, let's go to Jimmy John's, grab a sandwich. From there, we'll go to Liverpool and sign a contract.
Absolutely. Absolutely. They're checking out the sites and everything right now. At this point, they're discussing where they're going to live. Absolutely. That is 100% the case during this hangout.
They're on like realtor.com looking at Liverpool.
Right.
Like they're like, I don't have Wi-Fi. Can I come over and we can just search together.
They're talking with some former players as well, seeing how the environment is like. They're probably reaching out to.
Oh, that's always a classic. Yes, let's find it. They asked Konate about Liverpool. You get the same thing about like when Fenerbahce, like they asked about Istanbul, like they don't fucking know. Like they asked about how is Istanbul? Is it hot over there? But yeah, it's probably the same thing. But I mean, so you want this trio, and then you're folding the flag if we get this trio, Kazi? Let's get this on record. We couldn't get the tattoo on your butt. Let's get this on record at least.
Holding the flag, I like that. I don't listen. I don't know. Let's just see what shape the squad's in. I think at the end, if we get listen, I'm banging into these two lads. By the way, I'm just meeting up and going. How much are you getting?
What are they giving you? What? They gave me 20. Like,
yeah, I'm on. You're on 120, but they only offer me 100. Fucking right. Hello. Get on the phone. Let's sort this out. You know what I mean? With a partnership here kind of deal. But listen, it sounds wonderful. What I've seen on YouTube, which, as you know, Naby Keita is the greatest midfielder on YouTube. I would genuinely argue.
I think that should show everyone about that. Yes,
exactly. Naby Keita is the greatest midfielder in the world, according to 12-minute YouTube clips. I've never seen a player like him. So these lads look fantastic. As you know, Tim, I have a really big thing about having tall midfielders. So I'm a big fan of them both meeting up and going, fuck me, you're massive.
I don't know why. I don't know if you're going to post them up or what, but okay.
Because that day's going to come next season when I'm going to lose my mind when he starts McAllister, Thiago and Elliott in a midfield three. And I'm going to lose my shit. I'm going to lose my mind. But I'm just, listen, we'll see what happens. It's a great start for the summer. We're all super excited for the price. We're super excited to get him in. It's a done deal. Let's get it right. And I can't wait to see what the summer brings now. Let United go and sign Mason Mount for 80 million quid when he's only got a year left on his deal. So,
yeah. So, John, this clickbait video you sent me. What do you make out of it? I mean, is that a good sign? Is that even a sign? Or you could be like, hey, it's two dudes hanging out. They know Konate. What else do you need?
Right. I mean, let's face it. Like, we were clowning it a while ago, but it's probably just two guys hanging out. We were massively reaching there, but hey, I will say this though. It's impossible that they didn't mention it.
Of course.
Yeah, of course. Yes. So they're like, oh, you hear this? Yeah, Klopp wants this. It's impossible. And the whole thing, I'm seeing on Twitter the copium, by the way, by rival fans of us getting McAllister for 35 million. I just see it as one thing. He wants to play for Klopp. It's true. Like, the pull for Klopp is very underrated, I would say. Rival fans play it down, but for these gentlemen right here, that might have been nothing, but I feel like Klopp's pull is just very overarching. It's in their minds, and I feel like at the end of the day, it's what's gonna be the difference of getting them to play with us. And yeah, definitely, I think
that's fair, because I mean, that's a good point, because you would think, Kazi, it's only Klopp and Pep right now that as a name, as a manager, would have any kind of pull. Not that, Eddie Howe, blah, 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 are bad managers, but I don't know, a player in Germany or a player in France is probably not saying, oh, I really want to play for Eddie or something like that. Whereas these guys are a bit more proven, more of a charisma, more of like established. Everybody in the world knows what kind of a manager they are. I mean, we know a lot more about like certain Premier League managers because we follow Premier League so close. But you would think in this league right now, it would be Pep and Klopp who only have that kind of pull. I don't think Arteta will have that kind of pull yet and stuff, right? I mean, I can't think of another name that would have that.
Not in this league. Not in this league. The only one I can think in the old world is probably Ancelotti.
Yeah, probably. That's a good one.
Mourinho?
Is he still got that pull? I don't know. Listen, I love a shitbag Mourinho performance. I think they're amazing. But I don't know if you want to do it week in, week out kind of deal. I think
he would have a pull, right? Like if you're going to Italy, he might have a pull. But I think if you're saying like Roma, I don't know, like a team in the Premier League, blah, 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 I don't think you're going to be like, oh, Roma, because Mourinho is there. But I think if you're going to Italy and you have Roma, Fiorentina, and somewhere else, you'll be like, Mourinho is there. I mean, I can see that.
I can see, I think if you look around the league now, if you're looking at like a mid-table Premier League side, the one who's probably got the pull is maybe a De Zerbi or a Thomas Frank. There you go. I'd love to go and play for. If you're at that level, if you're a Championship player or a lower league, Premier League level, I'd love to play for Thomas Frank or De Zerbi because they can get me to that level again and go again. But in terms of elite players, yeah, it's only Klopp who's attracting these players. Alexis McAllister, let's get it right. He probably had other options, and he signed for Liverpool because of Jurgen Klopp. Do you know what I mean? And I think with these lads as well, you know, Pep, of course, has that pull, but there's also that thing in the back of the mind of the Chargers, of how many games am I going to start if you go to City? How many games am I actually going to play? Yes, we go deep in tournaments, but so do Liverpool. Liverpool usually go deep in most tournaments. It's only last season that, you know, we got knocked out against the best team in Europe in the last 10 years. They're the only team that ever beat us in Europe, is Real Madrid, basically. Yeah. So there is that thing. And again, Jurgen's track record of taking 23, 24-year-olds, like a Sadio Mane, like a Firmino and a Salah and these type of Henderson even, and going, I can get you to a level of like you didn't think you can probably get to. And then if you also do want to move on to that Real Madrid, Barcelona at the end of your career, like the Firmino deal, look at what we just done for him, and now he's probably going to go for Madrid and be their starting number 9. You know, Liverpool that is our big selling point, I think. So
I think so. Actually, we'll talk about that. Just brings up a new topic right there. Ryan says, morning, I'm late, apologies. I'm pretty sure this is the second late and the third time is a detention. So I'm just saying, so, you know, beware. Might want to like watch that. Don't want to get any kind of like a punishment. Speaking of, like managers, because we kind of like discussed this. I don't think we ever got to it. The rumor was out, but we never got to actually talk about it. Is the Tottenham's new manager? What do you make of that? They're bringing over the Celtic dude to Tottenham, John. I mean, like, I was not sold on it. I think Galley's really sold on it. We were chatting on Discord about it, but what do you feel about that one?
Well, I can't pretend to actually know the guy. I'm not really familiar with.
I think that's half the problem I have. But go ahead.
Right, I can't pretend to know the guy, so I don't want to commit to say anything of substance. But you know, Spurs. I can comment on how much of a mess Spurs are, though. Like as an organization, as a club, I do not know what's going on there. Again, to reiterate my point a few shows ago, the fact that they fired Mourinho before a cup final pretty much says it all about their organization. So, you know, this guy, best of luck, but you're gonna have your work cut out for you, my friend. Like I said, I don't really know much about him, but all I can do is wish him good luck.
I mean, that's the thing. I feel like that club with the manager, the top level they have in charge, right?
Right.
They needed a guy. They had the guy they needed, I think, in Conte, in terms of not giving a damn, changing shits the way he sees fits, and being able to tell players, if you don't like it, suck it, you know, on to the next guy. He had that kind of caliber. He had that kind of experience. And to be fair, he had that kind of attitude. And I realize Conte doesn't stay anywhere that much, and he bails on clubs very easily and stuff. But let's face it, and, you know, we talked about this before, when he talks shit about Tottenham, you hear Mourinho afterwards talk good about every club, including United, which was a mess at the time, speaking well about them and not about Spurs, tells you a lot. So to bring a guy in like this, without change, even if you change the attitude, I am not buying it. You're going to put your nose in his business, because there are already a lot of players used to going, sounds like, above the head of the manager, Kazi. So, yeah. So when you bring a guy like this, all I can think of it is you just brought another peon that's going to be the sacrificial lamb come November.
Yeah, I mean,
November.
You are right, though, because the past records do tell you that. I mean, we just don't know. He's just an unknown quantity. We have no idea.
Anybody is an unknown. Like you said this on Discord. This is what we were talking about. Anybody, I'm an unknown. Put me in charge.
Because I like, he has some track record in Celtic. Yeah,
I have a track record. Damn it.
I mean,
not in management, but
not safe for TV. But I mean, the one thing I'd say though about, you know, Postecoglou, his name is that he does have some track record in Celtic. He won the treble, which everyone can laugh at, right? Brendan Rodgers won the treble when Rangers were in the league. So is it more impressive that he's done it there when Rangers are in the league and competing? Probably. Because Brendan did it when they were in the league, so you got to give him his credit there. We just don't know. Again, when Pochettino went to Southampton the first time, He just managed Espanol. Everyone was going, he can't speak English. What the fuck is this? And Thomas Frank, we didn't know. Graham Potter, it was at Östersunds, weren't he? In fucking Sweden or somewhere like that. He was at Östersunds, and then he came, and we just don't know what the lad is. And by the way, I'm just a big fan of Harry Kane trying to pronounce his last name in an interview one day. Just for my own personal.
I have a problem
Right.
What is the last name? Is this Postecoglou?
Yeah.
Because that Olu is kind
Big
of
Ange.
where is he from?
We're gonna go with Big Ange. She's from Australia.
There has to be something else to that, because that Olu thing sounds more like Romanianish / Turkish, where it's like means like son of. Like the OV they have in like Bulgaria and stuff like that, like in those languages. And Turkish has like Oglu, like OGLU, which translates to son of.
Yeah.
So when they like it's like the M, like the Mac of, like in Irish or something like that. It's like in a lot of last names.
The one thing I'd say though about last year for Spurs is that when Conte done his famous now post-match interview at Southampton,
one of the best ones ever.
Brilliant. But if they would have won that game, they would have went third in the league. People forget that, right? And that's where the level he was trying to get them to, and these lads didn't want to know.
Yeah, and that's I think is very telling though, right? Because he was that, he wasn't like, oh, I mean, we lost, we were going to be third, now we're fourth. He's like, well, I'm not here to be fourth, and I respect that.
Yeah, and that's the difference. It's whether Levy wants to do the clear out now and go, I'm going to back this manager no matter what happens next season. But if we finish fucking 10th, we finish 10th. But this needs a clear out. I don't know whether Daniel Levy will ever do it, and I don't think he ever will, because some of these players have been there a long time. I say it all the time at Spurs. It's a lovely club, to play with no pressure. There's no expectation. There's no pressure.
That's what Conte was saying.
Honestly, if you're just a lad who they'll overpay players in terms of wages. They stick around for years. It's a lovely place to live. It's a fantastic stadium, and just no pressure. You lose, whatever. Don't care. Whatever, no one cares. If you want to go at 28 years of age and you're at the fucking middle level and Spurs come in for you, you're there till you're 34, you're taking 150 grand a week and having a lovely retirement at the age of 28, because there's nothing there. I look,
buy your house in London, now you're all set. I mean,
that's playing the best stadium in the world, one of the best stadiums. Let's get it right. It is, but beautiful stadium, beautiful plants. You're going to overpay me. Let's look at the players that they just like Eric Dyer. Jesus fucking Christ.
But if you're going to do a clean out, I mean, I guess in some ways, to play devil's advocate to myself, because I play it so much, I can even do it to myself, John, is if you're going to do a clean out, maybe it's better to bring a name like this, because, like we talked about, Conte is not going to be satisfied being fourth. He's there. He's not competing to be, a rebuild, if you will. It's more like, if it's going to be a rebuild, it's going to be like Pep's rebuilds, where he has to have $1 billion to spend along with it and stuff like that. But so is it better to go with a name like that? I just fear that you are never going to let this guy have authority to do stuff if you didn't let Mourinho and Conte have it.
Yeah, that's pretty much the fear at this point. And I think Spurs are pretty much destined to lose both Son and Kane at some point, and those are the only two players that are keeping them relevant, unfortunately. But to your point, there's two ways of looking at this, right? One is what you said: this guy's just gonna be a freaking doormat where everyone's just gonna step on him. Or two, like Kazi said, he's an unknown quantity. You'll never know. He actually might be able to stamp out his authority here and actually do something and steady the ship, so to speak. He might actually it all depends on what he does during his first transfer window. I feel if he identifies the players that needs to be shipped out, bring in some young talent, and then go from there. I think honestly Tottenham should just make plans and move forward whatever happens with Kane or Son. I feel like they should just be
my thing is, if you're in that locker room though, Kazi, and this is why I was like, I'm not sold on this unless you're changing everybody. Like if you're over there, if you're Son, if you're Kane, who's probably on his way out anyway. But if you're Son, Lloris is on his way out too. Apparently, Saudi Arabia the cash in. Gally was not too thrilled about that. But when this guy is talking about, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, this is what I want and stuff, are you like, ugh, okay, bro, Mo tried this shit and Conte tried this, you're gonna do this?
I mean, I suppose it's the the first question he probably would have asked in his interview is what's going on with Harry Kane before he took the job. It probably would have been his first question. And if it is, we're going to sell Harry Kane or keep Harry Kane, he's signed on the basis of if Kane leaves, he probably knows he's got time. Because you probably go, well, I need to rebuild it then. Because you're taking me striker, he gets 30 goals every season, 40 goals every season. So we'll find that out in the summer what Spurs' plan is, just based on Harry Kane, I think. If they keep Harry Kane, they want to win now. And this guy has to hit the ground running. But if Kane does leave and they have a slow start and say they sign a couple of strikers and they don't get going, he has time. I think that's the one thing he would have, agreed to. For me, I think it will be time to pull the trigger, to be honest, on Kane. I think it's time, and I just think for the club itself, not more Kane, the club. And I understand he gets 30 goals and he keeps them relevant, and I get it. But sometimes you've got to take 2 steps back to go forward. Yeah. I think sometimes you've got to swallow, go, you know what, we're going to fucking finish 10th. And it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, 6th, 10th, what's the difference? Get the money if you're going to start a rebuild.
Exactly. If you're going to do your rebuild, and that's what he might have to do. I'll tell you right now, I bet you if you were Spurs, I bet you're gutted having Tony suspended. Because if you're gonna sell Kane, like the first striker I'll be selling is Tony. If you're gonna go that way, it's a mad. The other one I'd be looking at is Tammy Abraham. I know he's had an off season. I think he's got to have surgery now, which is unfortunate because that kind of replacement striker. But I think for the best of the club and best for all parties, it's probably time for Kane to go in it, really. So.
I agree. Ryan says Spurs, Chelsea, and Everton are 3 top-tier teams that I wouldn't touch as a player or manager. So many fires to put out. I know what Everton is doing over there as a top-tier team, but I get his point. But yeah, I mean, I agree. It goes back to what you want as a player, right? I mean, those 2 dudes in France, are they like, man, wish we had money coming out the ass. Let's go over there and chill. Yeah, maybe you will go to Spurs. But if you're a player that you feel like, I mean, especially, I guess, those 2 dudes, to get to the French national team where there's like freaking talent coming out the ears, you got to be playing in a dominant club and playing well and stuff like that. So if you want a really career that's going to get you trophies and wins and Champions Leagues and stuff like that, you are probably looking more at, I hate to say it, but like United. I mean, aside from us and City, I'm thinking United and Newcastle. Well, United with the potential to see if Ten Hag can make something stick at least, compared to, because Pochettino is basically starting where Ten Hag kind of started, with a lot more talent, but trying to figure out what the hell. I mean, he could turn it around and Chelsea could be pretty darn decent because they have the talent there. Yes. But it's just so many unknowns, because if Chelsea approaches you and says, hey, you want to come to us, and you're like, what's going to happen? Where am I going to play? Well, it really depends. If we sell this guy, you could be here. If you don't sell that guy, you could be here. There's so many unknowns going into there. Spurs have their own mess, and Everton, yeah, I mean, if you go, Everton is probably on a destination for a player looking to get their foot in the Premier League. And if you're doing that, you're probably better off doing it at a team like, I don't know, like Brentford or Brighton or something like that. If you feel like, if you want to go to a club that's going to increase your price.
I say this all the time, though, Tim, right? This is like this. Liverpool were in that spot 10, 12 years ago. Yeah. Liverpool was signing players going, we'll get you to the next level. And that's how we were signing football. Yeah. So whether like that or not, that's what it was. Like, exactly the same, like with like Coutinho or something like that, and Mascherano and Suarez and stuff like that. We will get you to that next, and we will get you that move that you want. But you've got to, if you do it here, kind of thing. And then Liverpool turned into the destination, because that's what you hope happens. That was Liverpool's plan 10 years ago. You turn into the destination, but on the way, you have to start at a point. And when Brighton is the perfect example. Brighton go out to these players and go, I'll get you there. Yeah. I will get you to that spot with Cucurella and players like that. I will get you to that spot, and now McAllister. So I always think it's a great selling point for at least the bottom 10 of the Premier League. That's exactly what you should be aiming for. Then you hope eventually Brighton become the destination. If Brighton go deep in the Europa League this season and they become, or finish 5th, and then they start becoming the destination for players and go, you know what, I love it on the South Coast. It's beautiful. What a great place to live, and we're moving in the right direction.
You think Everton can say that?
Everton,
Gordon and like, what's
Everton makes, as you know, I have a very vested interest in Everton, and Everton should be doing that reset. Right. They should be doing that, like, hey, we will get you to that next club. But Everton have too much pride to do it. Everton have too much pride. And like, well, you just got to go, you know what? If it hasn't worked for 2 seasons, just rip this up, stop what we're doing. Sean Dyche is the guy. You know what I mean? And go, right, these lads we're going to go and target between 19 and 24. We'll get you to that level. Put buyout clauses in contracts. Put them 40, 50 million pound buyout clauses. The problem is with Everton, they've got that kind of too much money still. So they signed Onana for 45 million. And you're like, so who's going to pay 70 million for them? No one.
And not only that, they paid a lot of money for guys on the end of their career, like Alan and like James Rodriguez and stuff like that. Like, why? And I think, like you say, they had the money, so they're expected to spend it. And I think that's kind of like a fan base thing. There's probably people like you over there too, like they have flags, don't they? That they take out and wave if the money is not spent, even if they, if they got Onana, let's say for 15.
Yeah.
Exactly. Sometimes the fan base does not see it as a good signing because they got this guy. But when he comes in as 45, everything he does looks a lot better somehow.
The expectation's there, isn't it? The expectation is there. Like, and again, this is the same with Liverpool. He has been signed Sadio Mane and stuff for 30 odd million. I remember when Sadio Mane signed, we were going, what the fuck are we signing him for? He's garbage. And like, I remember people who were saying this, and then he kicks on to be one of the, Salah failed at Chelsea. Chelsea. Why would he come down, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? It's that kind of... So you have to set yourself at a point. Then Liverpool got these lads in at the right price. And then you can also go, well, actually, with it, that season when we signed Salah, we go and play, go to the Champions League final, very unlucky and whatever, and scores 44 goals, and he's the best player in the world. So you have to do a reset. The problem is with Everton, the reset never happened because they want to make a jump. That's just not possible right now. Everyone want to play in Europe next year. That's what they like in their head, their fans' heads. Let's finish in the top 7, and you're like, hang on a second. You know what I mean? You've got 34 points last year or 36 points, which should have sent you down most of the seasons. Most of the seasons you would have went relegated. So, but you've got it again. The reset has to happen for all these clubs in the league. Like, you know what I mean? I love Fulham, for example, right now. Fulham's my big one. Where Fulham have went to, for example, like a Carvalho and a Harvey Elliott in the last couple of futures went, we don't mind selling you one because we'll just go and get these other lads. Do you know what I mean? And like, I feel, for example, if someone went to bid, say Spurs are a good example, 35 million for Mitrovic, they'll probably sell him and go, go on then. We'll go and find another one for you. Do you know what I mean? So it's that kind of interesting scenario that most clubs, I think, in the league have to do eventually. So
I think it's kind of like a track record too. Like, when, Liverpool, I mean, aside from like Keita, you don't have a lot of misses. So when you bring somebody even for 15, 20, we're like, let's see what they do. They must know something. I mean, how many players that we sign? I mean, we're like, they must know something because you kind of build that reputation and track, kind of like City. When City gets somebody, even if it's not a high dollar one, like, when they brought Alvarez and stuff like that, we're like, they must freaking know something. And I think that's what happens. Whereas the opposite way, like Everton, when you have a track record of mishits, it's almost like they better spend money then. And then, like they just like freaking like overspend and all that. But hey, let them enjoy their misery while we enjoy getting McAllister for 35. Let's talk about this on the way out before we make predictions and stuff. Another topic we kind of like talked about in our Discord channel, and if you're not on there, why the hell aren't you? So the thing we talked about is Anthony, who has the look of domestic violence in his face anyway, but for some reason, I don't know why, but he just looks like an angry dude at all times. John, we were talking about, does this happen more, or do we hear about it more?
I think it's social media really like amplified these kind of things, but I do feel like it happens as well back then. I remember a comment that Gordo said, where whenever, was it Liverpool or Everton lose, and then was his grandma, he said that I feel for the wives or something like that. Yeah.
Very famous saying in Liverpool, John, Everton wives, run for your lives.
Right. Exactly.
It's a very, very famous saying. So
well, exactly. So there we go. It happened back then, I'm pretty sure, but now it's massively amplified by social media, and that's a good thing, by the way. That's a good thing. We these things, when the first time I heard it, I was like, again, and it's another United player, another talented United player, I might add. Like, what is it with their flair players and domestic violence? But I digress. Unfortunately, I mean, I'd rather not make any jokes about this whole thing. It is an unfortunate situation, and in all seriousness, I do hope that the authorities look into it and find out, what Anthony did, and dish out whatever punishment is necessary. But yeah, again, this wouldn't have happened if not for social media. So I do think it's good that we have these mediums nowadays.
I think so. Maybe like this would be. I mean, my point was this would be because this happened in Brazil. I mean, I remember like Megan when she first shared the link, it was in Portuguese. You had to do the Google Translate and stuff. So this would probably be, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago. We might not even hear about it. They might stay there, and we might not even hear about it over here. They're like, something happened, I guess, and then life would move on. But now, obviously, it gets spread a lot more. Do you think these guys with more money involved get more entitled, perhaps, and do more of it, or we just hear about it? This was going on all along.
Football is it's actually all sports are the scum of the earth. It attracts the wrong people all the time. The weird one for me with the Anthony situation is the timing. You're about to sign for Man United and become a multi-millionaire. It wasn't like it was, you know what I mean? Like, this should have been like the time of your life, surely, where, the happiest you should be. Because let's get it right, you're the most bang average winger I've ever seen. And they're about to sign you for 100 million quid. So, listen, he's a scumbag. If it comes out that everyone's innocent until proven guilty, and that has to be completely said as well.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not looking good for the man, let's say. But let's get it right. If he does pay it out and he just wears a tag for a couple of months or something like that, they'll be chanting his name when he scores a winner against Liverpool, if he ever does. So, it's disgusting, man. The whole sporting aspect of life is just disgusting. And we still idolise these people who break the heinous crimes, and we still idolize them. And it's sad, man. It's a sad thing.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, sadly, it's a part of society that you're trying to expose and kick out. And obviously, footballers are a slice of society. So you feel like the ratio is the same, though, John? Or because of the money and the worship that these guys might get, it kind of sometimes entitles them to feel like they can do more and get away with shit.
No, that is a tough question, honestly, and
that's what I'm here for, man.
Right. That's a tough question. Like we definitely need some academics to look into this and come up with some sort of like study, because to base every footballer off of Anthony is obviously not doing them justice. But the whole thing is, it's good that we have avenues now to identify these incidents and stamp them out right away and dish out punishment for those who actually deserve it. Unfortunately, I really wish we weren't talking about this, but here we are. That's basically the bottom line for me. It's a very unfortunate situation, but I'm glad that it was actually put into light.
Exactly. And I think that's the good thing about, one of the few good things, I guess, about social media is the fact that it can kind of like bring out shit like this.
There's probably one, the other thing here as well. The charges probably get dropped. They'll pay it out. Charges will get dropped.
Yeah.
And you'll go, look, he was innocent. And you're like, no, she just got paid out. Yeah. And number two, I can't believe that Anthony's only fucking 23. I thought he looks about 34. I know I look old, but Jesus Christ, Jesus, pal. Did he have a paper round in Chernobyl? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. Like, I can see this dude being especially frustrated too. I mean, I don't think, like we talked about, like, United. I think they're in the locker room. They're like, what I do, you should do the same kind of thing. But it's kind of a young guy, frustrated with too much money, entitled, all that kind of stuff. And I don't know. Sometimes you put it into. We could probably have like 5 hours about this, but I think when somebody like this does it, we go more like the entitled, rich, young guy thing. If it was just a dude, we would probably just be like uneducated, blah blah blah. Like it would just go like a different way. So I guess you.
I think one of the last things we can say on this side, which is I think it's a key point in the whole bigger discussion, is that these lads, and it's all sports stars, have never been told no since the age of 13 by anyone. You've seen it now in the NBA with Ja Morant.
Yeah.
You have not been told. When they become the breadwinner and when they become the biggest earner in the house, probably at 17, they are in charge of the household. Yeah. They are paying the bills, they are buying the houses, they are buying the cars. And they've never been told no. And this is where it comes down to a bigger whole overall arcing of giving the kids too much money when they're young. But I also understand the kids' arguments of, well, I can go out and get injured next week. I want to sign I've got a 100K a year contract because I might never play again next week. So it is a very much bigger conversation that needs to be had really about we're giving these kids out, again, too much too young and they've never been told no.
Yeah, I think meeting consequences is probably a shock for these guys because they can not only they've never been told no, they probably have gotten away with a lot of stuff along the way.
Yeah.
So you're like, you keep pushing the envelope a bit further, or you feel like, what's the big deal when you come to the next step? But it's different when you're kind of like low key and nobody knows about you and you're getting away with shit compared to, being in the spotlight and trying to get away with shit. So, okay, so on the way out, let's do some predictions. We're gonna be taking some time away on the morning show. We're going to be out of action until the 19th, I believe it is the Monday is when we're going to be back. Yes. So no show this Friday, no shows next week. Thursday podcast is on kind of like a hiatus for the summer as well until the preseason kicks in. But starting the end of this month right here, there should be a lot of new content heading your way. But since we're not going to have a Friday show, we're going to do double predictions over here. Start with today's game. Yes, there's a game today. I just happened to find out yesterday myself. Fiorentina, West Ham. John, let's start with you. Give me a prediction on that one.
1-1. It goes to pens. Fiorentina win. Yeah.
That's good, man. He gave the entire scenario.
Look,
Beat that, Kazi.
I'll go 1-0 West Ham, and I'm gonna go. You know what, man? I've got a big soft spot for Antonio. I just like yard dogs who've done okay.
Right.
Like an absolute run-of-the-mill player who's done okay for himself. So I'm a big fan of Antonio, and I like the podcast with Callum Wilson that he does, where he's just. I don't know if you've ever seen a viral clip of Callum Wilson and Michael Antonio do a podcast talking about Richarlison this season. It is the funniest thing that you will ever watch. When he goes, the man has been booked more for celebrating offside goals than he has actually normal goals. Fantastic. But, so I'm a big fan of just two fans. So yeah, I'll go West Ham. I just think, and also again, I really like Declan Rice as well. So
yeah, a lot of West Ham love over here, except John. Sparky Parky has him winning 2-1. Alan has him winning 3-2. I do like actually your prediction there, John, because I feel like Fiorentina as an Italian team will drag this out, but their defense did not look so hot. And it's not like I watch these teams a lot, but Antonio, by the way, reminds me of every freaking center back I started facing when I came to England from Turkey. And trust me, that is a big change. Suddenly, it felt like every team I played against had an Antonio in one format or another, beating the shit out of you as a fucking sweet.
By the way, I'm a big fan of just a David Moyes defense and an Italian defense. Just two teams kicking the ball into touch, like in American football. It's like, now you have the ball. We don't want the fucking ball. You have the ball. Yeah.
I think it could be a lot of set piece stuff, and I think that goes to West Ham's advantage. I think, but we'll see. I mean, it's soccer. Enjoy it while you can, because after this weekend, there won't be a lot of it. I think there's some national games coming up, but yeah. Okay, Champions League final, because that's going to be here while we're gone as well. Kazi, we'll start with you on this one. Inter or City, or would Real just show up and just take the trophy and be like, this is what we do? I don't know what you guys are saying.
Ancelotti walks in, raises an eyebrow and goes, doesn't say a word, raises one eyebrow and goes, thanks a lot. Just walks out with the trophy.
Everyone's going to be fine with it as well.
Yeah.
And the two guys are carrying the engraver with them. They're like, come with us.
Like a statue. Just pick them up like a statue and walk them out. No. I think City are going to win it, and I think it's going to be absolutely awful how comfortable they're going to win this game. I think it's going to, I think it genuinely could be 2-3-0, so comfortable for them. I think they control the game too much, and I think with the Inter Milan, where that could be happy having 35% of the ball, I don't think they're going to get it, because if they're not going to want to press this team or try and win the ball back, City will just pass you to death.
Right,
pass you off the par to death. You have to go at them. It's the only way you can actually beat City is actually going at them a little bit and go, you know what, we have to get hold of this ball eventually. John Stones was absolutely superb in the FA Cup final in that new position he's found, a bit like the Trent role.
Yeah.
And it could be something like that. City will win the treble, but it all means nothing anyway. So who cares? Because they all cheated to do it. So
who do you have? I mean, that's sadly where I'm at too. Just we're all, I think, have a glimmer of hope for Inter, and that's about it, right? I mean, I think the only thing could be City being huge favorites, and this is what they've been going for years now. have maybe some kind of a pressure that causes some errors. That's probably the only hope I have. How about you, John?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with Kazi as well. It's just they're just too good, man. First of all, if Inter want to have a chance, they absolutely do not have to let them score in the first minute. Unlike a certain team, the moment City scored that first minute goal, you knew it was over. So, to your point about City being, massive favorites, it might play into them, somehow giving this away. I think Erling Haaland pretty much just stamps that out. He's just an absolute dog, man. He's just an absolute 100% production. Yeah. And he's going to get a goal. I'd bet the house on that. He's going to get a goal. And I'd say 3-1 City, unfortunately. But as Kazi said, it don't mean a thing.
Yeah, sad to kind of bet against them, I guess.
Right.
But more like your heart bets against them, but your brain, it's just really hard to tell your brain, hell no.
Well, Pep used to always try and do something a bit confusing, didn't he? He always tried to outthink himself. He hasn't got the option to play Kevin De Bruyne up front on his own like he did in the Chelsea game.
Right.
That option's not there anymore. So he can't outthink himself anymore. The team picks itself. For the first time, probably I can remember under Pep, the team picks itself kind of thing, the 1 to 11, or very close to it at least. So, yeah, mate, it's just inevitable. But again, it doesn't mean anything, so who cares? The game is in 4 days, and no, it's not even on coverage. No one cares that they're playing. I know when Liverpool.
Yeah, that's weird, isn't it? Is it because we're just Liverpool fans and we're kind of like not following the news, or is it because they're playing Inter too on top of it?
No, it's because it's irrelevant, and they don't get clicks. Did you
see their celebration for the title? Absolute madness.
Yes. And I think that's the problem. Is not only that. It's City and it's Inter. I think the fact that they're so heavy favorites, like there's no. If it was Real, I think it'd be a lot different because you would have a lot of we would have more intrigue, right? We would probably open up the predictions a bit more and talk a bit more about it if this happens, if that happens and stuff. But with Inter, it goes back to what Ryan is pretty much saying. Inter will literally have to play perfect, and that's the only way they can win. And that's kind of like a big ask in a final game. That's the only thing going for them, though, is sometimes you never can tell what you're going to see in a final game from a team.
And then they also have Lukaku up front. So it's not like they're discounting a player who can't score a goal. Lukaku can't score a goal, whether you like him or not. He does score goals. So, again, Sparky's right. It's just not... No one cares. That's it. Yeah, go on and win it. No one cares.
No one cares is a great line that Layla uses all the time when she tells stories about Switch. No one cares. And yeah, that's a good point. No one cares.
And John alluded to it, which is key. When they won the league, mate, I celebrated more when Chow went to potty for the first time.
I saw more dangerous antics in this Liverpool bar that I went to here in New York. So
I celebrated more this morning when I found out there's 35 million.
Right.
That's why you were late, damn it. Admit it. See, we caught you in your lie.
They were saying they have to go from Rory hit a 400-yard drive. They're like, fucking hell.
Open up the door, take a bow. Well, thanks a lot, guys. Thanks to all those following live. Don't forget to pass the word about our giveaway for this month for the YouTube channel. The boys will be back Monday night's podcast. Gally and Bickler show will be on. So those boys will not have trivia because I'll be away on vacation next week. So they get to enjoy a week without me. Well, everybody gets to enjoy a week without me. So happy. So you guys are on vacation as well in a way. So you guys enjoy that. Have a great week, everybody. See you guys soon. Take care.